Hi everyone, this is On the Move with Kontota, episode 2. I have Sydney with me here today.
Hi all.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your background?
So I'm Sydney. I've been with Kontota for the past 2 years, but prior to Kontota, I have been showing horses for the past 5 years, and I've been competitively grooming and showing horses as well since I was much younger. So I've been in and out of the dog world and showing competitively with them before moving into this pet grooming space where I kind of really find my happy place.
Yeah, great. So today's episode is going to be about double-coated breeds and shedding and all that good stuff, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about double-coated breeds especially, and
there is so much out there that people think is right or it makes sense to them in their head, but it's just not great for their dogs at the end of the day. We know that you guys are trying to do the best thing for your dogs. Maybe you learned that's what we did when we were younger and the dogs were always fine, but science is improving and we know a lot more than we used to know now. So that misinformation, we're trying to stop that spread, you know?
And also I think especially like shorter haired double-coated breeds, I feel like they don't get as much attention. People will get a lab thinking their coat is low maintenance or it's not as high maintenance as maybe like a poodle or something, but in reality most dogs requires some sort of, grooming and upkeep.
All dogs require maintenance. You at home, you brush your teeth, you do your own nails, you trim your nails, you brush your teeth daily, you need your own daily maintenance. What's so much different about our dogs? They need their ears cleaned, they need their teeth brushed. It's the exact same daily maintenance that you would use to take care of yourself. Your dogs need the same thing. Maybe not to the same extent that us humans need, but they still need their own level of maintenance.
Yeah, so I have a list of questions here. Can you explain what exactly a double coat is on a dog and what are the typical dog breeds that have that kind of coat?
So this is going to surprise you guys. All dogs have a double coat because we hear about dog breeds like poodles that don't shed. And it's because while they do still have a double coat, they do have an undercoat and a top coat. It's much more similar to our hair. It grows a little bit different. Double coats, Labradors have double coats. People don't seem to think that they do. They seem to think that they are a very tight single coat breed, and I understand why. They do have that tight to that body skin level of coat, and it's not fluffy like some of the other breeds that we would stereotypically think of, like Siberian Huskies, like German Shepherds, where everyone thinks, oh, they're fluffier. Chow Chows, any type of Nordic Spitzy breed, you're gonna have that more automatic double-coated breed. So a lot of those Nordic breeds, those Spitz type breeds, even a lot of herding breeds will also have those really thick double coats that we traditionally think of about double coats.
So there's one consistent thing that people who own double-coated dogs, breeds that we would typically think of as double-coated, we will get a lot of customers that want to shave their dog down completely in the summer. They think their dog is hot or they're expecting it to help reduce the shedding. So can you talk a little bit about that and why that's maybe not the best idea?
So one of the biggest misconceptions about shaving down your double-coated breed is that it's going to reduce shedding. It doesn't reduce the shedding at all. It actually just makes those shed hairs significantly shorter. So you think they're not shedding.
And it gets stuck
You're just
in
not noticing it. Oh, it does. They get stuck all over. Even worse now, but like I own a Siberian, I just lint roll. I'm good to go. All I need is a lint roller. I keep one in my truck. That's the cost of having a dog breed like that I love, and I know that. But if that's what you're concerned about, just get a lint roller. It's far safer for your dog. But on top of that, what happens when you do shave that double coat is it actually interrupts the telomeres. So that's when you see all these things happening where the dog's coat doesn't grow back properly. It's because those two layers of that double coat, the top coat and that undercoat, those grow at different length cycles. So the undercoat is what we talk about all the time, that shedding coat, that undercoat, we need to get that out. That grows at a much faster cycle than that top coat does. That top coat's pretty steady, it's pretty much there all the time. It does shed, but not nearly at the same rate as that undercoat does. So when you're shaving that, you're taking all of that without regard to what's top coat, what's undercoat, and at what part of its growth cycle it's in. So when it's trying to regrow, with that undercoat growing so much faster, that top coat doesn't actually have the ability to grow through that undercoat because it is so thick now.
I see.
So that's where we see all this coat damage coming from when people are shaving their double-coated breeds. And it's not like the coat can never recover from it. It can. It just takes a lot of maintenance and a lot of upkeep and a lot of coat health to maintain that, to help that top coat grow back through once it's already been damaged like that. But beyond that, the health risks for the dog itself, it doesn't help them actually cool their body temperature. That double coat is specifically designed to help them regulate their temperature. So it separates their hair from their body and traps that nice, cool body temperature air in while being able to release that hotter air. The same way that our AC kind of works with fans, where we'll draw that hot air up and out. Yeah. Their bodies are built, their hair, their fur is built to do the same thing, to help cool them. In addition to their other cooling systems, like their panting, sweating from their paws, but their coat is designed to help them maintain their correct body temperature.
Yeah. And obviously it's going to depend on the breed. You know, different breeds are built for different climates.
Yes.
So, but that doesn't mean that if you have a Husky in Texas that you should be shaving it. It just, you need to be keeping up with the grooming.
Their maintenance.
Yeah.
And there are some things that people do that do help their dogs out that's not completely shaving. So when we do an outline trim, we do trim down their entire underbelly and we will trim up their rear feathering. And that also will help that coat kind of shed out and help prevent them from becoming too matted, especially if they're like some of my clients. They like to spend a lot of their summer days in the pool. Yeah. It's a Texas summer here. It's 100 degrees outside. Yeah, for real. These Texas summers, they hit hard, they hit hot, and we understand. And helping your pets maintain their health, we get that. So we want your dogs to enjoy the pool. We love that for them. Yeah. But to help maintain them as well as doing that, we might shave their belly a little bit. Not down to the skin, but just kind of help loosening up that fur, bringing down some of that extra fluff, and help reducing that space that that air needs to flow out. If you notice, if any of you do have those double-coated breeds at home, my Siberian at home, that tile floor in my kitchen, that's his favorite spot. He's spread eagle, his long walks in the afternoon, he is just, yep, this is my spot. He just flattens out like a pancake and he cools off and chills and takes his afternoon nap, cooling off on that cold tile. Yeah. And things like that little undercoat trim on that belly, that helps him bring him closer to help him regulate his body temperature just a little bit better. Right. But again, we don't want to do that in a way that damages their coat. It just helps them regulate a little bit better.
And also, it's case by case, you know. I'm sure there's some dogs where they might have some sort of condition where it's helpful to shave them, or they have to, maybe they have a skin condition. And then also, it's also not you shave your double-coated dog once and then its coat is ruined forever, which, I mean, that can happen, but it's, again, like Sydney said, it's not, you know, it depends. It depends on the dog.
If the dog's coat were going to be ruined forever, we would see a lot more of that ruined forever happening with standard surgeries, like ACL repairs, where that dog's entire hip gets shaved. And those coats are typically fine after a little bit of a recovery period, so it's the same thing. It's not going to ruin your dog's coat the first time you do it completely forever. Oh my goodness. It's not the end of the world catastrophe that people seem to like to think it might be. Yeah. Or it could be. That coat is salvageable and it is savable, and that's why we do shave the dogs for things like ACL repairs, and it grows back without a problem. It just takes some recovery.
So like anything else, it's just always about doing what's best for the dog.
Absolutely. And people that are driven a little bit bonkers by that shedding, that coat maintenance is key to it. I personally, because I have my own Siberian Husky, that's probably why I have a lot of my own Siberian Husky clients, because I say, oh my goodness, I love your fluffy baby. I've got my own fluffy red boy at home. We bond over it. So I call myself the little D-shed queen because I truly love it.
You're used to it. It's just every day for you.
No, it is, and I love it. I absolutely love that about my job, and I find a really good D-shed so satisfying. Yeah.
It's get that, then you get to take that picture at the end of the groom with the big
the giant pile of fluff. But no, people think that I'm crazy when I'm like, no, get your dog on a regular cycle of grooming. Yeah. Because there's no amount of brushing that you can do at home that's really going to maintain it. Yes, you can be on top of it and you can do a great job. Referencing my own dog here. He's sitting under my chair right now. But again, that coat maintenance at home, there's only so much that you can keep up with brushing. But keeping on a regular grooming cycle, even for a 3 to 4 month, just bring him in for a bath and a D-shed with a professional groomer, being able to really get in and get that old growth out and clean that coat. You don't want to do too much ever, but getting it in for a really good groom to help pull it all out. Really important to bring these dogs in at least every 3 to 4 months, to bring them in, get that D-shed out, get all that old growth out, make room for that new growth, and you know, make them all nice, clean, smell better, comfier for you to cuddle in bed with. Everyone knows it's the best thing to do at night, cuddle with your dog, especially when they're nice and clean. But being able to get all that D-shed out, it helps that coat maintain itself, and it helps your dog always look its best.
Yeah. That's a good segue, though, to the next question I was going to ask, which is just a lot of dogs, they shed on like a seasonal cycle. There's some dogs that just shed year round, but you know, they'll have like those bigger kind of blowouts in certain seasons. So what would you say like to dog owners, like what should they prioritize during those times?
So you definitely want to get your dog in for a good D-shed. Definitely get a good professional grooming in. However, my favorite thing that we hear all the time in the double-coated community is, my dog only sheds twice a year, the first 6 months and the last 6 months. That's what we call the blowouts. It's typically when that season changes. So those two big blowouts that we're talking about, they typically will happen in that fall into spring season, and then also going into your winter season when they're letting go of that summer undercoat.
Yeah.
Those are really the times that you want to get them in, and you want to get their good D-sheds. And this is when you'll see they'll go in and then they'll come back out, and the next day they're still shedding even more. It's like you never even took them grooming, and it's so disheartening. However, that is the time when you definitely want to bring them in. You want to bring them in right when it starts, and then give it about a month to help all that come out, a little bit of activity to help loosen it. Right after that, another month after that, bring them in again. If you're really focusing on just doing that time, that's when you would want to do it.
Yeah.
But again, that yearly across the year maintenance, doing it every 3 to 4 months rather than just right when that big blowout's happening, is going to help that maintenance all year round. Because now you're helping that undercoat just all year round. It's doing what it needs to do because they do shed all year round.
Yeah.
It's not just these 2 big blowouts like we like to joke about.
Right.
But it does help that coat maintenance all year round, keep that D-shed under control, and keep those little fluff monsters from flying around your house.
Yeah. And you mentioned something also, we'll have customers who they'll get their dog de-shedded, and then after the appointment, they're still complaining, you know, their dog's still shedding, maybe even more after the appointment. Can you explain why that happens and why that's normal?
So again, you're loosening it all up. So during that groom, we will see that dog initially come in with those standard tufts that you're pulling out, those things that we call so satisfying. You're pulling out those giant tufts. We're like, oh my goodness, you're ready to explode, and we'll see this. And we go, awesome, and we'll bring this dog in, and we'll get them all de-shedded out. We'll get all that obvious stuff out. But what's not obvious is the rest of that coat that still hasn't come out yet. So we'll get all that stuff that's been ready. But now there's this stuff that's backed up behind it that's not quite ready. But now after the bath and after the blow dry and after getting all this stuff that's been ready to come out, it's now next on the block. It's ready to come out. It's saying, hey, my turn. Where am I going?
Yeah. So that's why there's more.
So there's always more because the dog's never done shedding. But again, that's why that maintenance really helps, because you're not going to come away from never having that again, where you're not going to have these bigger blowouts, but you are going to be able to contain them a little bit more. You'll see them coming. You'll already know that your groomer's coming. You'll get that out, and it'll be maintained a lot better and on a more regular schedule, which again just helps that dog's coat do what it was already meant to do, which is bring out that shed, bring out that debris, the grossness, and then you're just helping the dog's coat forever.
Exactly. And we'll show you a little demonstration later on how to properly brush your dog. But that's the point. The de-shedding service is not to get rid of all of your dog's fur so they never shed again. You are going to have to brush your dog probably more right after the service, because all that extra fur is going to come out. But after you get over that initial hump, that's going to reduce the total amount of fur that you're seeing on your floor. You won't have to vacuum as much.
Unfortunately, by the time I walk from the van to the door, the dog will shake and there's more fur. Ready to go.
So there's always going to be fur, but the de-shedding is to help steam out.
But it's never going to eliminate it completely. I would love to be a miracle worker and never have to do a shed again. Believe me, I would have so many more dogs. And I would also be out of a job.
Well, your job isn't just de-shedding dogs, but I mean, it would be a lot less clients. Okay, so what are some signs that a dog's shedding might be abnormal? Like, what's normal shedding versus like maybe there's an underlying health issue that could be causing extra shedding, or shedding in a dog that doesn't usually shed as much?
So the only real thing with shedding that would concern me was if the dog started shedding out in bald patches, and I was getting down to bald patches of skin or the skin's really, really flaky and red and irritated underneath. Those are things that could indicate some type of underlying health condition, but it's not indicative of the shedding itself. The shedding itself doesn't really indicate that. It's just kind of the skin conditions would tell me this. And if the dog is shedding in clumps down to the point of being almost bald, there's multiple skin conditions there that I would be concerned about. And I would tell that pet parent, hey, you should bring your dog to the veterinarian. I have some concerns about this. And I would just let them know what I was seeing and why it's a vet visit.
Good. Most dogs that shed are going to be shedding year round. There might be a couple points in the year where you notice more fur, but if you start noticing like giant clumps and you start noticing the fur not coming back in, that's when you should maybe...
It would almost look like scar tissue if that's the thing.
Yeah.
But those aren't super common conditions, and they're usually noticed by pet parents before they even get to that point.
So I was going to say, you'd probably just notice like your dog's skin.
Yeah, you would notice the redness,
or...
the flakiness. You would notice things like that at home. Probably dandruff that would actually alert you as the pet parent before it would even concern me as a groomer.
Yeah.
These are things that you would actually notice before I would in the van, because you live with your dog.
People would also, I mean, you'd be surprised though, I know like a lot of the groomers, they'll notice things on the client's dogs that they haven't even noticed, and it's just because you guys are really in there.
This is true. This is also because a lot of groomers will come in there and we don't see your dog every day. I've done this too with my own dogs, where someone actually noticed on my dog something. I ended up having to go through a year's worth of history of photos of my dog to see what happened, because it was so normal to me. She had her dew claws removed as a puppy, and she had a little wart grow in place of one. Nothing crazy, nothing major. But when someone pointed it out to me, she was already 3 years old. And I was very concerned now. I was like, how long has this been here? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that I lived with her for all 3 of these years. I've known this dog. I watched that wart grow, and it's benign. There's no big deal about it. But I had to go through a year's worth of history of photos to see that it was there, and I just missed it because I live with my dog.
Yeah.
So now as a groomer, when I come in, I don't live with your dog. I don't see your dog every single day. So that new lump, bump, growth, wart, whatever it might be, a little cloudiness in the eyes that you might have just been accustomed to seeing because you see your dog every day. It's normal for you. I come in there and I'll see it and I'll be like, oh my goodness, is this new? And that happens a lot of times too, where I have noticed things on dogs that have either been new or benign or whatever, you name it. That's mostly just because you live with your dog. You see your dog every day. You might watch that little thing grow and you'll never notice it because you see it grow every single day. So it's a little bit easier for us to see because we just don't see your dog daily.
Great. Are there, so I guess like for people wondering how to manage their dog's coat at home, are there any like special like shampoos or treatments they can do besides just like brushing that would help with maintain like shedding?
So while there's always benefits to specialized shampoos and conditioners, I'm gonna tell you right now that I don't really care about the specialization half the time. What matters is that it's a good shampoo and conditioner that's meant for your dog and it's safe for your dog. So at the end of the day, if that's what you're using at home, great, keep using it. As long as it's meant for dogs and it's safe for your dog, love that. Use that. And the specific way that I personally have found that I absolutely love to do desheds because it works. It's tried, it's true. This is well known in the grooming industry. And I don't know why this isn't talked about more openly publicly. It's called close, open, close. So we condition, shampoo, and then we condition the coat one final time. So when we're conditioning the coat, we're closing those hair follicles. So it's preventing everything that's already loose. If you're using curry combs, depending on what you're using to help you in the bath to get that extra fur out, that first condition helps get what's already loose off your dog.
Okay.
Now when you're shampooing, you're opening those hair follicles, so you're encouraging more of that shed to loosen up and get out of that coat. You're encouraging all the dirt, the loose oils, all that icky stuff that we want out. That's what that shampoo is doing. This is when I'll shampoo more than once if the dog's coat needs it, but this is where I really am reaching in, scrunching, and making sure that anything that I can get out, I'm scrubbing out during that shampoo. And the final step is that last condition. And starting with the condition is really what makes the difference here, because now again, after I've already loosened up that coat, but I already took out what was already loose and was already icky. I got all that loose out already. So now there's more loose. There's that second loose, all that loose I'm now getting out with that second condition. It's just another thorough way to thoroughly condition that coat. So you're closing that hair follicle, you're opening that hair follicle, and you're closing it again to really help loosen all the dirt, the oils, the grime, and you're doing complete rinses every single time. If the dog is really badly shedding, if it has the start of some compaction and I really need to get in there, I'll actually blow the coat out while they're still wet and have conditioner on them. I will actually use the force dryer on them during that time to help really get it out, and then rinsing it all out again.
Okay.
Another thing that I like to use on the tub on dogs, especially if they're bigger, is if you take the jet setting on the sprayer, so it's one single stream, you just have to run it parallel to their body, and you will watch it just loosen and really, like, just, you'll watch it just fill up, and that coat will become that lighter color of that gray or that lighter brown, depending on what color coat you're working with. You'll see all that undercoat just fluff up to the top, and you can just rake your hands off of it and it'll just come right out.
So I guess for people like at home who don't have like special bathing tubs and stuff, if you have one of those hose attachments outside,
a garden handle
with the jet stream, if you just have your dog outside, use that's enough like pressure to do the same thing.
Yeah, you don't want to ever point that directly into the dog's skin though, and you want to check the pressure on yourself. Our handles that we use in our grooming bins are almost the exact same thing as what you would use for a garden sprayer in your own house. You can easily go and get similar items at your local hardware store. But it's the same setting, it's just jet, or it's the full setting. The full setting is the less pressure one. I usually would use the full setting on a smaller dog, but the jet setting works really well on the bigger dogs with the thicker coat that can handle it. Again, just test it on yourself. If you test it on the back of your hand, gives you a good idea if it's going to be uncomfortable for the dog or not.
And then obviously most people aren't going to have a force dryer at home, but doing the thing with the jet stream does a lot for that.
Force dryers are actually not super inaccessible though. If you're looking at this at home and you're trying to do your best with your own dog at home, car washes actually often have dog washes involved, and they have decent force dryers. And Supply does dog washes where you can walk in and it's a DIY area. So if you're trying to DIY dog wash yourself at home, maintain your dog at home as best as you can, there's plenty of places. Tractor Supply has them, Pet Supplies Plus has them. I know Pet Supplies Plus, Tractor Supply, and a lot of car washes will have DIY dog wash station.
This whole process is not something that you need to be doing every single time you bathe your dog.
Yep, this is what I would recommend if you have a double-coated breed and you're just trying to get your dog bathed at home, but you're trying to do the best job you can. Close, open, close, condition, shampoo, condition your dog, and then if you can, if you're in a place that has that, a force dryer. They're also not super expensive if it's worth it to you. Say you've got several dogs at home and it's worth it to you to invest in that. Could be.
Yeah, I used to wash my dog. I used to take him to Pet Supplies Plus, and it was like $11 to use their
$30 now.
For real?
Yeah.
Still, $30 versus there's no need to buy
it's
like
$30.
A force dryer.
It's $30 for the convenience of it.
Right.
And even working here, I will go and pay $30 for the convenience of not having to clean up after myself.
Keep your home clean. You don't have to clean up the fur.
No, but it's true. It's a $30 convenience fee for me to not have to clean up after myself.
Yeah.
Which
Plus they'll have like usually their own shampoo and stuff.
They do. They will provide everything for you.
I wanted to just quickly touch on the shampoo. So I know we use like a special de-shedding shampoo here, but I guess what Sydney's saying is it's not really so much about the shampoo as long as you know the proper technique. There's
benefits specifically in the de-shedding ones that you'll see a lot where it has like added vitamin E and things like that to help the coat and skin maintenance. Again, those are great. But at the end of the day, as long as it's formulated and safe for dogs, those specific formulations, you don't need the top of the line thing. You just don't. At the end of the day, for your dog to have a good home groom, you need something that's safe and formulated for dogs. That's it.
Now, obviously, if you want to avoid all of that and you don't want to deal with any of it, that's when you call a professional. Someone like Sydney who's really familiar with the
specialized shampoos and conditioners for you.
But yeah, I know some people, they maybe just can't afford it, or they just don't really want to do that, or maybe they just have like a lab or something that doesn't super need like a ton of time to do a thorough de-shed. So doing it at home is definitely possible, like Sydney said, with you don't need that much special stuff. So
yeah.
Can you talk about how, like, I guess back on the topic of like general coat health, how does your dog's nutrition, like hydration and like overall health affect like the amount that they are or are not shedding, and just like the quality, I guess, of their coat?
So overall nutrition, that's such more of a veterinary geared question, but you know.
Just from your personal experience.
So at the end of the day, proper nutrition is always going to be beneficial for your dog's coat health. There are things that you can add to your dog's food, such as salmon oil or other fish oils that will help that coat maintain its shininess. It'll look extra healthy. But at the end of the day, just making sure that your dog's nutritional needs are met, your dog's going to have a nice looking coat. At the end of the day, you're going to feed the dog that's in front of you, and the specific diets, what that looks like, whether you're adding any specific nutrients to that dog's diet, that's going to depend on the dog that you have and kind of what your vet says. But making sure that your dog is maintaining an appropriate diet and it's a healthy diet for them, that's going to help your dog's coat maintain its healthiness.
Great. Final little question, then we'll do a demonstration on how to brush dogs. What's like the top piece of advice that you wish pet parents with dogs that shed, such as Tiberius, like what do you wish they knew about taking care of their dog's coat? Like if you could tell someone one thing to help them, what would it be?
That's such a hard question because there's so much. But the first thing that always comes to my mind is always brush your dog. I think a lot more of it has to do with just pay attention to what your dog needs. If your dog needs a really good grooming, figure out how to make that happen for your dog. Because not all dogs need the same thing. I have many Husky clients, many Siberian clients that none of them have the same coat. Some of them are woolly, some of them are not. Some of them will get really compacted really, really easily, and some of them have never been compacted a day in their life.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it very much depends on the dog that you have. And my only piece of advice is really to pay attention to what your dog needs.
Yeah.
Because if your dog needs something, you should be able to figure that out and help your dog get what it needs, whether that's going to be a good grooming or a vet visit for something, or maybe a snack because they're being such a good pupper.
Hi, so we forgot to record an outro for this part of the podcast, but the next part is going to be Sydney just going over the different de-shedding brushes and tools you can use for de-shedding, and these are also the same tools that we use when we're grooming dogs. So enjoy.
So hi guys, this is Tiberius. This is my dog. He's my little double-coated boy. Will you say hi to the camera?
Perfect.
So one of the things that we like to talk about a lot with our double-coated breeds is brushing. So I have a bunch of my brushes here. The most common ones you'll see is going to be this. This is a rake. You might see this in another variety called a double rake, where it will have 2 rows of these pins. The double rake will just help you grab that fur a little bit better, especially if you do have that thicker, longer, double-coated breed like a Husky. We also have a pin brush. I love my pin brushes. They help me get down to that undercoat so I can really see what that skin looks like and see if I'm getting down to his skin or not. My slicker brush, which will just help me pull out all the fur. And my greyhound comb, which also, again, helps me get all the way down to the skin so I can really see what's going on and see how much fur is really down there.
Where can people buy these?
Anywhere. These are readily available at any pet store, Amazon, anything like that. You can go for a very fancy brand. Chris Christensen would be like that name brand, kind of top of the line. You'll hear him all the time in show grooming stuff. But there's a lot of other brands that make the exact same products and they work just the same. So don't let those name brands scare you. So to get down to the undercoat to kind of see what's going on, I kind of just move that rough. And you'll see that he is shedding a lot. He's a little bit overdue. So one of the things that we talk about a lot is line brushing. So I'm getting all the way down to his skin, and you can see that I've already made a line in his fur, and I'm going to brush that line until I get all that fur out. This is a pretty extensive and thorough grooming process to go through an entire dog line brushing them like that. But you'll see it's super effective. You'll get all the way down, you can see where that skin was on his coat, and you're gonna get all that shed fur out pretty easily. One of the reasons why I prefer my rake, especially with my double-coated breeds, is because it is by far the easiest to use. It'll get all the way down to their coat, and you'll see it pulling all of that hair out really, really easily. Whether it gets caught just in that brush or it's come down here on his fur, it's a lot of fluff that comes out really, really easily. If you happen to have, say, a woolly breed, like a woolly German Shepherd or a woolly Siberian Husky, where they do have much, much longer fur all over, kind of much more similar to the length of his ruff, which this is the only place where his hair is this long. The rest of him is much shorter comparatively. But you might want that longer pin brush for something that is, say, a woolly. The pin brush also, same thing. You can get it in short pins like this. This is my mini pin brush. I'm pretty fond of it just because with it being so small, it does help me get to where I need to, and it helps me move that specific area really easily. But again, this helps me with my line brushing, where you can see that line in that skin that I'm already creating, brushing that line. And again, that pin brush is just helping pull that hair right out as I go. Then same thing for the slicker brush, where this thing is going to also help your top coat kind of look a little bit more sleek. But the slicker brush will do the exact same thing as it's pulling out that undercoat. But these are the main brushes that we will use to de-shed to help get all that coat out. The slicker brush is great if your dog's not doing any of that heavy shedding. So the slicker brush is really, really great for any of those shorter coated breeds that Dylan had mentioned in the background before. So any of those shorter breeds that are shedding, slicker brushes work great on all year round. Slicker brushes are great on these double coated breeds that aren't shedding so much. So you can see how his top of his back here doesn't have any of those nice big fluffies we were talking about, but he is shedding quite a bit still. You can kind of see it. So that's where that slicker brush would come in handy to help pull all of that out. But so would my rake or my regular comb too. But those are my favorite products to use while de-shedding my double coated breeds. I use them on my clients regularly, and these are my own actually that I brought in to show you guys with, that I use on my clients and my personal dog. Right, Happy Boy?